Welcome back to Trial by Horror, the weekly court of public opinion where horror's most controversial black sheep sequels are dragged to the stand to face final judgment. I am your presiding judge, the horror rock god. Welcome back into the courtroom. If you're tuning into the network for the first time, make sure you check out everything we're spinning here at ghostfacehorror.com. Catch full episodes of the Horror Rock God Show for your heavy metal and terror fix. Or pull up a chair for the Scare Table with Chloe, Marcus, and Shane for deep dive franchise dissections. But right now, you are tuned in for Trial by Horror, where you, the listeners, are our official grand jury. All right. Court is officially in session for the final sentencing of case number 001, The State versus Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Now, looking into the jury box today, it looks like the audience was so completely shell-shocked by magic daggers, body-hopping worms, and corporate lore vomit that half of them were rendered speechless. But we did get some key testimonies entered into the official court record that speak volumes. That's right. On our Facebook, jury member Bob dropped a brutal piece of evidence on the record. He said, and I quote, "It's the only movie in the franchise that I don't rewatch at all. It just doesn't feel like a Friday the 13th movie." And jury member Brooke didn't hold back either, stating she wanted to have a word with the culprit who wrote this mess in the first place. We also had a website submission from Mark, who voted guilty, saying, "Where is Jason? You can't bench the main monster and call it a Friday the 13th movie." On the flip side, Ghostly Gamer 88 dropped a not guilty vote via email, stating, "The practical gore and body-melting kills in this movie are absolute gold. Give me wild 90s chaos over another generic Camp Crystal Lake entry any day." But here is the core issue with Jason Goes to Hell, and why this court is issuing a strict summary judgment today. We have to look at the pre-existing conditions. By 1993, the Friday the 13th franchise was already severely damaged. Paramount had neutered the gore. Part 8, Takes Manhattan, had drained the goodwill, and the franchise was bleeding out. When New Line Cinema acquired the rights, fans weren't asking for a ground-up reinvention of slasher physics. They were asking for a return to form. They wanted a dominant, hockey-masked Jason Voorhees tearing through victims in classic style. New Line handed us a movie where the actual titular character gets blown into meat chunks in the first 5 minutes, sits in a locker room freezer for 80 minutes, and delegates his killing spree to a series of host bodies and a parasitic worm. It took an already struggling, battered franchise and completely derailed its core identity right when it needed a lifeline. You don't fix a broken house by tearing out the foundation and replacing it with Necronomicon lore and a magical dagger that only a blood relative can wield. So, by order of this court, for the charges of franchise sabotage, lore destruction, and benching the main attraction, the verdict on Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, is guilty as charged. No parole. Sentenced directly to the bottom of Crystal Lake. Case closed. Order in the court. Wipe that blood off the defense table. Clear the docket and bring out our next defendant.
Some films are celebrated as absolute masterpieces. Others are buried forever in the graveyard of cinematic history. But then, there are those trapped in the middle. The outcasts, the experiments, the sequels and tropes that split the fandom down the middle, leaving blood, rage, and arguments on both sides. Tonight, we drag another genre fender out of the dark and put it under the courtroom lights. Welcome to the Court of Dread. This is Trial by Horror.
Tonight, we drag one of the most infamous, polarizing black sheep sequels in horror history out of the shadows and straight to the stand. Bailiff, bring in case number 002, The State vs. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, 1982. The prosecution charges Halloween 3 with grand larceny, specifically a massive bait-and-switch on moviegoers across America. You put the word Halloween on the marquee. You put the iconic title card on the poster. But when fans bought their tickets, Michael Myers was nowhere to be found. Instead, they were handed silver Shamrock masks, microchips, Stonehenge magic, and lethal bugs melting children's faces. The prosecution calls it an unforgivable deception that derailed John Carpenter's vision and cheated horror fans out of a real sequel. But the defense argues it's an underrated, atmospheric cult masterpiece that tried to save the franchise from endless slasher repetition. Prosecution, defense, step up to the podiums. Let's see if this movie deserves a pardon or an execution. Shane, as lead prosecution, you have the floor. Lay out Exhibit A for case number 002.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is an open and shut case of grand deception. In 1978, Halloween introduced the world to Michael Myers, the Shape. In 1981, Halloween 2 doubled down on the blood, the hospital siege, and cemented Michael Myers as the undisputed king of slasher cinema. So in 1982, when horror fans walked into theaters under a poster reading Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, they expected a mask, a butcher knife, and Haddonfield terror.
And instead, what did they get?
They got zero Michael Myers, Your Honor. The movie literally treats Michael Myers as a fictional character on a television set within its own world. Instead, Universal handed fans a bizarre, chaotic cocktail of Irish paganism, Stonehenge theft, deadly microchips, robotic henchmen in suit and ties, and an earworm commercial designed to melt children's heads with snakes and bugs. It wasn't just a different film. It was a betrayal of expectations that killed the franchise's box office momentum for 6 entire years until Michael had to be resurrected in Part 4.
Objection, Your Honor. Prosecution is judging this film for what it wasn't, rather than respecting what it actually is.
Overruled for now, Marcus, but state your defense counsel. You've got 2 minutes to sell this court on Connell Cochran.
Gladly, Your Honor. Halloween 3 was John Carpenter and Deborah Hill's brilliant attempt to save the franchise from getting stuck in a repetitive, stale slasher formula. The original vision for Halloween was never intended to be an endless Michael Myers chase. It was supposed to be an annual anthology series exploring a different terror every Halloween night. And if you look at the film on its own merit, the lead, Tom Atkins, gives an all-time legendary horror performance as Dr. Dan Chalice. The score, John Carpenter and Alan Howarth created one of the greatest, most dread-inducing synth scores in cinema history. The visuals. Cinematographer Dean Cundy gives this movie a rich, widescreen aesthetic that blows almost every other 80s slasher out of the water. The kills. The drill through the skull, the test room massacre with the pumpkin mask. This movie is bleak, brutal, and unapologetically dark.
Atmosphere doesn't excuse an incoherent plot, Marcus. Are we really supposed to believe an Irish novelty tycoon stole a multi-ton monolith from Stonehenge, shipped it across the Atlantic to Santa Mira, microchipped pieces of it into rubber masks, and nobody noticed?
It's high-concept Halloween mythology, Shane. Conal Cochran is a villain who actually achieves his goal of unleashing ancient Celtic sacrifice on corporate-minded America. It's bold, anti-capitalist sci-fi horror.
Order in the court. Look, both of you make killer points. Shane isn't wrong, marketing this as Halloween 3 after 2 iconic slasher hits was a suicide mission for box office expectations. But Marcus is right that time has been extremely kind to Season of the Witch. Out of the shadow of Haddonfield, it stands tall as one of the most unique horror films of the 1980s. But opening statements and surface arguments aren't enough to settle a case like this. We need to dig deeper into the official record. Before this grand jury can even think about returning a fair verdict, they need hard facts, expert witnesses, cold, hard evidence, and a full breakdown of the body count. Counselors, fetch your files and bring your key witnesses to the stand. Let's examine Exhibit B and put Halloween 3 under the microscope. All right, Shane, you've made your opening charges. Now back it up with testimony. Call the prosecution's first witness to the stand.
Thank you, Your Honor. While the defense wants to hide behind creator intent and anthology dreams, the prosecution has to deal with the actual crime on screen. I direct the jury's attention to Exhibit D, the absurdity of the Conal Cochran master plan. The prosecution calls our next theoretical witness to the stand, Ellie Grimbridge, or should I say, Android Ellie Replica number 4. Look at this plot, ladies and gentlemen. We start with a grief-stricken daughter investigating her father's brutal murder. Standard thriller stuff, right? But by Act 3, she's kidnapped, thrown into a dungeon, decapitated, and replaced with a laser-eyed, suit-wearing android replica that tries to gouge Dr. Chalice's eyes out while he's driving a car. Conal Cochran's plan isn't horror. It's an incoherent sci-fi fever dream. He stole a piece of Stonehenge, shipped it to California, packed microchips into rubber masks, built an army of killer androids, created a hypnotic TV commercial, and his end goal is, what? To sacrifice American children to ancient Celtic gods because he thinks it's a fun Halloween prank? The plot is a chaotic, bloated mess that completely lost the plot of what made Halloween scary.
Nice try, Shane, but you're spinning standard 80s sci-fi tropes into a federal offense. May I respond, Your Honor?
Proceed, defense. Counter the android claims.
Gladly. The prosecution calls Android Ellie absurd, but the defense submits into evidence Exhibit E, the ultimate 80s working man hero, Dr. Dan Chalice. Look at Dr. Dan Chalice. He isn't some generic, pristine teenager running away in a forest. He's a beer-drinking, mustache-sporting, overworked physician who stumbles headfirst into a bizarre corporate nightmare. He's flawed, he's relatable, and Tom Atkins plays him with absolute legendary, charismatic swagger. And as for Conal Cochran's plot, it's not an incoherent fever dream, it's peak high-concept techno-pagan horror. Cochran represents the dark side of commercial consumerism, using corporate novelty masks and hypnotic television broadcasts to destroy the very children buying into the hype. It's dark, it's cynical, and it took serious guts to make a movie where the villain's evil plan actually works on screen.
And let's not ignore the auditory evidence either, counselors. What about the soundtrack?
I'm glad you brought that up, Your Honor. We also submit Exhibit F, the masterpiece synth score by John Carpenter and Alan Howarth. Put on a pair of headphones. That score builds more suffocating dread and atmospheric tension in 2 minutes than 5 generic slasher sequels combined. You take away Michael Myers, and Carpenter still delivers a masterclass in sonic terror.
That Carpenter score is great audio decoration, Marcus, but let's talk about the cold, hard numbers. The prosecution submits Exhibit G, the box office crash of 1982. When fans walked out of theaters realizing they were cheated out of Michael Myers, word of mouth killed this film's legs. It made less than half of Halloween 2's box office gross, completely derailed Universal's release plan, and forced the entire franchise into creative hibernation for 6 straight years until they had to crawl back to Michael in 1988 with Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. The audience voted with their wallets, and the verdict in 1982 was unanimous rejection.
Box office revenue in 1982 does not define quality in 2026, Shane. Audiences in 1982 were confused by the title, not the filmmaking. And let's examine what actually happens on screen. We submit Exhibit H, the unapologetic brutality and practical kills. Look at the kills in this movie. The copper drill straight through the back of Buddy Kupfer's head. Marge Gutman getting her face blown open by a microchip laser. And the test room scene. A young boy wearing a silver Shamrock mask has his head melted into a swarm of live rattlesnakes and crickets on primetime television. Halloween 3 didn't pull its punches. It took genuine horror risks that most generic 80s slashers were way too terrified to attempt.
Risks. Marcus, killing a kid with bugs in a test room doesn't magically turn a broken bait-and-switch into a masterpiece. It doesn't change the fact that they slapped the name Halloween 3 on a standalone sci-fi film just to cash in on a brand name they didn't even use.
Slap the name on it to cash in? Shane, Carpenter, and Deborah Hill own that brand name. It was their right to pivot. You're complaining about corporate branding when the movie itself is literally a warning about evil corporations brainwashing the public.
Oh, come on, Marcus. You can't use meta-commentary to excuse terrible pacing. Let's talk about the actual viewer experience. The middle hour of this movie is Dr. Chalice driving around a sleepy factory town, checking into a motel, and hanging out with a woman young enough to be his daughter, while the Silver Shamrock jingle plays on loop every 10 minutes. That song isn't just an in-universe weapon, Your Honor. It's psychological torture for the audience. They traded Michael Myers' iconic pulse-pounding theme for a modified London Bridge is Falling Down commercial.
That jingle is pure evil genius, and you know it, Shane. It gets stuck in your head, builds dread, and drives home the unrelenting commercialization of Halloween. And as for the pacing, that atmospheric burn builds up to one of the most chilling, hopeless horror endings in cinema history. Dan Chalice screaming into the telephone for the station to turn off the commercial while the screen fades to black. That is top-tier cosmic horror.
It's a cliffhanger ending attached to a movie that didn't earn it. It left moviegoers in 1982 pissed off, confused, and demanding their money back. You want to talk about evil genius, Marcus? Let's talk about Exhibit 1, the Silver Shamrock masks themselves. Look at these pictures, a pumpkin, a witch, and a skull. Where is the iconic William Shatner mask? Where is Haddonfield? If Universal and John Carpenter wanted to start an anthology, they should have titled it Season of the Witch, a Halloween story. But they didn't do that, did they? They slapped Halloween 3 across posters, trailers, and merchandise because they knew a standalone movie about evil novelty masks wouldn't sell tickets on its own. That isn't creative courage. That's exploiting brand loyalty.
It's called building a universe, Shane. Those 3 masks, the pumpkin, the witch, and the skull, are more memorable and distinct than 90% of the generic, uninspired slasher masks that flooded the market for the rest of the 1980s. And let's look at what Tommy Lee Wallace actually achieved with those masks. They took a staple of every single kid's Halloween night, buying a cheap rubber mask from the local store, and turned it into an instrument of absolute cosmic terror. It tapped into real paranoia. When you put on that mask, you weren't watching horror, you were the victim. That isn't exploitation, that's masterclass horror world building.
Masterclass world building that killed the franchise for 6 years, Marcus. You can spin it all day long, but when the audience left the theater in October of 1982, nobody was saying, "Wow, what great world building." They were saying, "Where the hell was Michael Myers?"
In 1982, maybe, but we don't live in 1982 anymore, Shane, and the horror community has spoken. Over the last 4 decades, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, has undergone one of the greatest critical reevaluations in genre history. Those 3 silver shamrock masks didn't vanish into obscurity. They became absolute horror royalty. Walk into any Spirit Halloween or horror convention today. You'll see the pumpkin, the witch, and the skull plastered on t-shirts, vinyl soundtracks, high-end prop replicas, and NECA action figures. James Wan referenced it. Halloween Kills brought the masks back on screen, and horror creators everywhere cite it as a brilliant piece of 80s cosmic terror. It survived the knee-jerk backlash and proved it has real, lasting staying power. It isn't just a sequel anymore. It's an inescapable pop culture icon of the Halloween season.
Merchandise and cult nostalgia don't wipe away the felony of a bait and switch, Marcus. It took 40 years for people to forgive it, but that doesn't make it innocent.
Order! Order in the court! That is enough back and forth. Counselors, wrap it up. Time for final arguments. Shane, deliver the prosecution's closing statement to the grand jury.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the facts are simple. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, committed the ultimate offense against horror fans. It promised a Halloween movie and delivered a bizarre sci-fi plot about Stonehenge microchips, android henchmen, and silver shamrock masks. It alienated the fan base, crashed at the box office, and put Michael Myers in a 6-year coma. You cannot slap a legendary slasher title on a totally unrelated script and expect a free pass. The prosecution demands a verdict of guilty.
Marcus, your final plea for the defense.
Members of the jury, don't punish this film for the studio's marketing choices back in 1982. Judge Halloween 3 on what it actually delivers. A bold anthology concept, incredible practical effects, an all-time great John Carpenter synth score, Tom Atkins in peak form, and a terrifyingly unique story that became a beloved cult classic. It isn't a bad movie, it was just decades ahead of its time. The defense asks for a verdict of not guilty.
The evidence has been presented, the cross-examination is complete, and the arguments are officially entered into the court record. Now, the final verdict doesn't belong to me, and it doesn't belong to Shane or Marcus. It belongs to you, our grand jury. Is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, guilty of an unforgivable bait and switch that derailed a legendary franchise? Or is it not guilty, an underrated, atmospheric cult masterpiece that earned its place as a horror icon? Here is how you cast your vote and make your voice heard on the official record. Head directly to ghostfacehorror.com and check out the official Trial by Horror page. Cast your official guilty or not guilty vote in our jury poll. Leave your testimony in the comments. Tell us why you love or hate Silver Shamrock. You can also email the show at jointhediscussion@ghostfacehorror.com with your vote, or hit us up on our official Facebook page. The top juror testimonies will be read live on the air during next week's episode when we deliver the final verdict and call case number 003 to the stand. Until then, turn off your TVs Watch out for silver shamrock masks and keep it locked right here to ghostfacehorrorradio.com. Court is adjourned.
It's the time of the season when love runs high, and this time give it to me easy and let me try with pleasured hands
to take you in the sun to promised lands here.
to show you everyone. It's the time of the season for loving. What's your name?
What's your name?
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy?
Is he rich like me?
Has he taken
Has he taken
any time
any time
to show?
to show you what you need to live?
Tell it to me slowly.
Tell you what.
I really want to know.
I really wanna know. It's the time of the season for loving. What's your name?
What's your name?
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy?
Is he rich like me?
Has he taken
Has he taken
any time
any time
to show?
to show you what you need to live?
Tell it to me slowly.
Tell you what.
I really want to know.
It's the time of the season for loving.
You have been listening to ghostfacehorror.com.